Once you've set up your project in Gridfox, you can invite other people to it so that you can collaborate and work together. This video will cover the different types of users, how to manage permissions, and how to add people to your project. There are 3 different types of users in Gridfox. There are account admins. The details of how to add these and what they can do is covered in the account management video. There is then project admins who can configure and set up your projects. And then there's the end users who interact with the project that you have configured by creating records, etc. This video is going to cover how to invite the project admins and users to your project and ensure that they have the right level of access. All users in a project must be in a group. Groups control the permissions that a user has within the project. We're going to start by configuring some groups for the to-do list project so that we can then add users to it. We open up the project and open up edit mode by clicking Open Editor. We can look at the groups that we have configured by selecting the Users tab. This is the list of users that are currently in the project, and we're going to take a look at the groups. By default, every project has 3 groups. The Project Admins group contains everyone who can edit the project configuration, so they can add new screens, add new tables, amend fields and workflows. The Edit group is an end user group where users in this group can edit all records in the project. We can take a look at the permissions by clicking the configuration options and view permissions. So we can see here there are 3 tables in this project, and users in this group can read, create, edit and delete records in all of these tables. You can't amend the permissions for the default groups. As you add new tables to your project, these will appear automatically in the default groups. If we go back to the list, there's also the View group, which is available by default, and users in this group will be able to see all records in the project but not make any amendments. If none of the default groups match the permissions that you need for your users, you can add a new group. We're going to add a group for the customer team. This has been added in the list, and we can now go ahead and configure the permissions. So I would like users in this group to be able to edit tasks, so they can see them, create new ones and edit existing ones. They should be able to edit projects as well, but only read companies. They can see the company information, but they can't amend it. So this group has all been set up ready to go, and I can now add people to it. As a quick note, you can also colour code the group. So this is used around the system where you can colour code, say on a Kanban board or a calendar. To change the colour of a group, just click on the colour picker, pick an existing colour, or alternatively, if you'd like to add a custom colour, click on one of the blank squares at the bottom, use the picker to select a new colour, and then you can go ahead and use the new colour. So now that I've got all my groups set up, I can then add users to these groups. So we're going to drop back to the Users tab and click the Add User button. So we can see here that I am allowed 4 users in my project, and I've got 1, so I can add another 3. So the number of users is controlled by the account plan that your account is under. In this case, the account is under the team plan, which supports 4 users. So we're going to add 2 users to our project. Enter in the email address of the user you need, pick the group that they should be in, and click the plus item. This will queue up their invite. I'm going to add 1 more user and put them in my new customer team group. These 2 users are ready to be invited. I can check this on the next page and then click to send invites. So this will email both the users and invite them to my project. They will have immediate access to the project once they complete the registration process. If they're already a user themselves for Gridfox, then they'll have immediate access and won't need to go through the registration process again. You can swap the group that someone's in at any time. So in this case, Todd is a project admin, but I might actually want to swap him to the customer team. I can do this by just clicking the Change Group option. Like with groups, you can also color code users. This is particularly useful maybe on a tasks board to be able to see who's assigned to what at a glance, and you change the color in the same way. You can remove people from a project. Simply click the options and click Remove User, and this will remove their access to the project. It won't delete their account, so they can still access any other Gridfox projects that they have been invited to. There are a couple of other permission options we can review. So if we go back to Groups and configure the permissions for the customer team, we can see here against each group you can see who is in which group as well, which is very useful. So there's a column for restricted fields and a column for record filters. So these are additional permissions you can put on top of a group. The restricted fields allow you to restrict which fields on a table a user can see or edit. For example, we have the project, which has a budget field. I don't want users to be able to edit the project budget if they're in the customer team group. When I add a restricted field, by default it's set to read only. If I click this icon, it swaps it to be a restricted visibility field, so users in this group can't see budget. I want them to be able to see it but not edit it, so we're going to put it back to the padlock and click Save. So when you are changing group permissions, these apply immediately to the users. The other option we have is record filters, so where you'd want a user to have access to a table but only limited records within it. So for instance, I want people in the customer team to only have access to projects where they are the owner of that project. To do this, I click Manage here and add a record filter based on owner. This will be the users can only edit projects that they are the owner of. If I click this icon here, that changes it so that users can see only projects that they are the owner of. The type field here restricts whether they can see projects that they are the owner of or any user in that group is the owner of. If I switch it here, this means that the customer team can see only projects that the owner is someone within the customer team. I just want it such that people can see their own projects, so I'll swap it back to the user rather than the group option. Go ahead and click Save, and that permission will now be applied. So there we are, we've seen how to create groups within a project to control user permissions and how to add users to those groups so that they can get access to your project.